Basically, around 10 years ago, my mom and I moved away from my father, who used to treat her really badly, like really, really bad, and went to Switzerland. My father then with a bunch of made-up nonsense. I only found out that he told a bunch of lies about a year ago, was able to press charges against my mom for kidnapping me, and I had to move in with him, and I didn't see my mom for about 2 years. What I think is crazy is that somebody looked at this man and thought it was a good idea to let me live with him. He had no money. In Germany, we have a thing called Hartz IV that basically gives you 400 euros every month if you don't have a job. His flat is really dirty. Random stuff laying everywhere, and him not caring about me and just smoking the entire day. I went through a lot of traumatic events of abuse. I was able to move in with my mom when I was 7, after my mom moved here. And this wasn't my first time talking with a judge about it. Previous judges thought it would be better if I stay with my dad. And since then, she's been fighting for my full custody. The last 3 years were basically no contact with him. Him saying my mom's family is a clan that does illegal things. He can't cope with the fact that a woman who came here when she was 13 now is better off than him, someone that only had good grades and such, and that I was being influenced. And today, finally, after 10 years, my mom got almost all of the custody. My dad, in the end, retaliated cause he knew if he didn't, my mom would get full custody. He said a bunch of dumb stuff as usual and was confused as ever. Here is the basic dialogue I was told about. Judge: Sir, the kid wants to live with his mum. The mum is moving at the end of the month. Where is the kid gonna stay then? Father: He's gonna stay with me. Judge: Sir, I think you are confused. The kid doesn't want to live with you. And now, the part that really shocks me. My dad said I should stay in foster care, just 'cause he doesn't like my mum. Anyways, my mum in the end won. That's what matters most to me. I'm so proud of my mum, and so happy she's my mum. She's been so strong the whole time just so I can live a better life. From now on, my father is gone. I won't have to put up with any more. It's such a relief just knowing he's gone. The fact that he wants me in foster care just shows it was never about me. He just wants to hurt my mum. In the end, he got what he deserved. It's just so good knowing that he got trampled on by a woman who can't speak the German language but still is living a better life than him. I just feel really good now. Many, many moons ago, 1999, I started work as a pub manager for a successful independent pub with a decent salary and even better profit-related bonus scheme. The owner had just bought an old bank with a large car park in an ideal location for a large gastropub just on the outskirts of the town center. It was in the direct footpath between the train and bus stations and the main bar area, so its footfall would be excellent. Over the course of the next 12 months, I worked excessive hours running the one pub whilst helping him design and set up the new pub. It was fun and rewarding, both financially and emotionally. The design of the gastropub was excellent. It was Oriental themed with an open plan kitchen, so the customers could see the chefs working, and as the owner had an Oriental girlfriend, all the chefs were from her extended family. This point is key to the revenge. We opened with a bang, and the place was a roaring success, far busier than we had dared to hope, and the initial new opening buzz just never died. We just kept getting busier and busier. And I was working 7 days, 80-plus hours a week between the two pubs. We had to employ a second manager to run the first pub and ship even more of her extended family over to work in the kitchen. By the end of the first year, my bonus was close to double my salary. In fairness to the owner, he worked more than I did, and I got on really well with him. Then he screwed me over. He married his girlfriend, and she and I had never really gotten on very well, but she left me to do my job while she mainly looked after the kitchen side of things. The owner bought a brand new top-spec Porsche, and the wife got a new top-spec Mercedes. I bought myself a Suzuki motorbike. All was going well until it came to my yearly bonus time. I was expecting it to be a lot less than last year with the additional manager and that we were no longer running so short-staffed. But it was drastically worse. By my calculations, it was almost £15,000 short. Just checked. That's about $25K nowadays. I, of course, queried this with the owner. It turned out that the company had bought the Porsche and Mercedes as company vehicles, and that was above the line for my bonus calculation on the profit and loss. They'd also messed some major capital investment expenses into the repairs line, also above the profit line. I was not happy to say the least, but since we worked so well together, I thought he'd be open to sorting it out somehow. But his wife stepped in and even went as far as to say, if they could have lowered my bonus even more, they would have. My personal life was in tatters, and I'd been thinking about moving on anyway. All the money in the world isn't worth it. If you work so much, you ruin relationships. So I handed in my notice on the spot. This suited the wife perfectly. She made me hand over my keys and said I'd get my pay in lieu of notice, owed holiday pay, etc. But I wasn't to ever set foot in either of their pubs ever again. I was barred for life. Cue the revenge. The problem with treating someone who knows the exact ins and outs of your business with such disregard is that they know all the ways you have been breaking the law. Those chefs you brought over to work but never bothered to get visas for because it's too much trouble and too expensive. It would be a crying shame if someone called immigration to let them know. Those company vehicles that were never used for company business, be a crying shame if someone called the tax office to let them know. That messing of the P&L to reduce the pre-tax profit, be a crying shame if someone called the tax office with details of what to look for. Those cash-in-hand staff you employed so you didn't have to pay NICS, be a crying shame if someone called the tax office to let them know. For good measure, I also rang the local EHO. I wasn't sure as I didn't deal with the kitchen, but I was pretty sure they were breaking some of the hygiene laws. I knew for a fact Kosh was broken, as it was always the cheapest cleaning chemicals she could find, so we never had data sheets. The fallout was epic. It hit the local press, and the pub was closed for almost 4 months. I have no idea how much they got fined, but it had to be far more than my bonus would have been. Hi, I've been a long-time lurker, and I've never thought I'd encounter an entitled mother. So, for context, I'm at a park with my dad, 54. He's playing with his second daughter, 12. I just turned 16, and I made DD, important for later. I also look 14, also important. So I'm on my switch, minding my own business. It was a cold day, so I was in my dad's flannel. It made me look even younger. So an entitled kid walks up to me, about 11. I'll call him Zane. Zane, hey, you, tiny lady. Me. I look up, completely confused me. Zane, of course you. Give me your Switch. Me, no, I bought this with my own money. I won't let you have it. Zane stomps foot and runs away. I thought this was the end. Obviously not. I was sitting in my dad's truck. In the back thingy, who walks up? The entitled mother. I see Zane behind her, and I scream mentally. I realized this is my partner's family. Entitled, Mother, why'd you steal my baby's Switch? I zone out, staring ahead for a few minutes, gaping like a fish. Zane, oh, hello. Me, miss, this is mine. She freezes. You're black, so obviously you can't afford that. And I bet your dad stole that. You N-words are all the same. Oh, yeah. Karen's white, and my dad owns a very popular restaurant down by the beach. We're very rich. Dad, what's going on? That brat stole from my kid. My dad asks me in our mother language. Is this true? He said in a firm voice, in a way to mimic yelling. I shake my head. Then I hear the entitled mother calling 911 and framing my dad for doing heroin and grooming a 12-year-old. Very specific. My dad doesn't even drink. My little sister. Daddy never drinks, though. The entitled mother keeps screaming that we're all going to jail. Then the police arrive. Ma'am, who's doing the drugs? She points at my dad, and he's drunk. I'm recording the entire incident. The policeman gives my dad the breathalyzer, and he's clean, of course. He then gives it to the entitled mother, and she's very drunk. Typical. He also asks my dad who me and my little sister are, and because we're lighter than him, he always keeps our files. He hands them to him and gets off the hook. This entire time, my little sister is shaking. Policeman 1. Ma'am, you're under arrest for lying to a police officer and harassment. She walks 3 feet back. I'm a woman. You can't put your hands on me. The policeman arrests her, and turns out she's done things like this before. I have no idea what she got, but she's in jail. Moral of the story: don't be racist. Everyone have a nice day. I live in a college dorm on an all-female floor. I usually wear decent clothes if I leave the building, but I wear shorts and a crop top just to walk down the hall to the bathroom. A few days ago, I left my room and walked 10 yards down the hall to the water fountain, refilled my water bottle, and went back to my room. I was wearing a white tank top. The tank top was fitted but not see-through. There was a small group of people hanging out in the hall outside a few of the rooms, but I didn't think much of it until around half an hour later when I got a knock on the door from one of the girls I'd seen in the hall. She said something to the effect of, "Hey, so sorry to ask you this, but if you go out into the hall again, could you put something more covering on? My boyfriend's out there and he was staring a little, so I'm super confrontational." So I was like, yeah, sure, sorry about that. And for the rest of that night, anytime I left my room, I put a sweater on. And that was the end of it. Or so I thought. The next day, my roommate told me she'd overheard the girl telling a few of her friends about the incident while in the bathroom. She said the girl was making it sound like I'd been purposely trying to seduce her boyfriend, wearing basically nothing, taking my time at the water fountain, and more. When she left the bathroom, my roommate said the girl was actually acting it out at the water fountain, pretending to be me. That night, I passed the girl and some of her friends on my way to brush my teeth. I was already in pajamas. The girl looked pointedly down at me, and all of them started giggling. But the last straw was when the entire dorm got an email from the RA yesterday saying she'd gotten some anonymous complaints about people dressing inappropriately in the hallways and asking that we all just make sure we're keeping things covered up. So here's where I got my petty little revenge. I knew that the girl's boyfriend doesn't go to college here. The girl and I were in the same orientation group and chatted a bit back then. I also knew that due to the pandemic, we aren't allowed to have non-student family guests in the dorms this year. So I used the same anonymous complaint form to issue a complaint about people bringing their off-campus boyfriends into our dorm and them not wearing a mask. Masks are mandatory in the hallways, although not frequently enforced. This morning, the RA emailed again saying that due to anonymous complaints, they'd be enforcing the no off-campus guests rule by checking IDs of unfamiliar guests to make sure they were students from then on. Really, this girl should be thanking me. If she was concerned about her boyfriend seeing me in the dorm hallways, she no longer needs to worry.